like 30 seconds. So everything's all ready for me here.
Okay, sounds good. We're going live then.
Yay.
Yay. Hey guys, come on into the room. Come on into this dimension. Come on into this live grid intel update with our beautiful and most amazing Noko. Hey.
I am so excited to be here. Oh my goddess.
Oh my goddess. I love that so much. Hey guys, welcome. Come on in. Come on into the room. This cosmic grid container. We got a lot to get into today.
Yeah, as soon as I set my intentions on this Stonehenge, I got what I needed.
Yeah. We had a pretty magical conversation the other day
Hmm.
where we were going over just the recent downloads of what's been coming in, and it was pretty intense. I think there was a lot coming in terms of the troubled grid network and areas where we need to start focusing our intentions for the group work, for the remote work, for the mission work, to really go in and start penetrating, I think, some of these detrimental frequency fences that are working as enslavement camps. Yeah, we really kind of went to the heart of the core of the suffering on the planet. That's where we seem to naturally be pulled because of our empathy and because of our global awareness of what all of this means for humanity, right?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, you have to have certain gifts and abilities to be able to handle that sort of level of right trauma and fear and all the things that kind of exist in that place. And like it just brings me always back to in Native American culture, the deer medicine, because there was this story where the deer
Mm.
like melts the evil, demon trying to block people from God. And it brings that to me because when I connected with you, especially physically the first time we met, it was very clear, like we had a very similar way in the world with making people smile, making people feel good, bringing our hearts to the table. And, that's something that I'm super proud of. And obviously why we continue to click so well.
Absolutely. Well, I think there's a particular veil that has to be dissolved and dismantled for a lot of people to get to that point that they're okay with just even being seen. And
Absolutely.
that's what I love about you is, yeah, you've really dissolved that veil. You can just be who you are. You can be present. You can be singing. You could be dancing. You could be doing whatever it is. And it's just you're okay with being seen. And it doesn't matter by how many. And because you're comfortable in your own authenticity. And it really truly is a high level of transcendence. Yeah, to get to that
Yeah,
level. Yeah, definitely.
I think so.
So,
Hmm.
yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful place. And I just hope more and more people can get to that place as well, because we're all meant to be here shining our light and doing this work. Really, truly, like this is a global group effort of our one cosmic family, right?
Exactly. And I see it. I think it's part of like that, new earth movement, with the people that are, leaving corporate America and doing their own businesses and people being more courageous about being seen and stepping into
Yeah.
that entrepreneurship is like such a deep shadow work journey. And so anybody that does that is immediately going to be thrown into that anyways. So you have to be willing to be seen in order, for most of our missions. And especially if we're going to be doing grid work, boots on the ground grid work, you have to be very solid with,
Mhm.
your root and who you are on this planet, as a person, as a human, and being willing to, put that on the out there to be seen and judged and,
Yeah.
so it's an important thing. I'm
Well,
gonna grab my tea. I'll be right back.
yeah, absolutely. Get your tea. Um, so yeah, come on in the room, guys. We're just really having a nice, beautiful, gentle morning where no pressure, right? We're just here to hang out with you guys and dive into some of the current intel that's been coming up, some of the direction that we're going in terms of the remote grid work mission that we're going to be doing. We have a big, big, big remote mission tomorrow at 12 p.m. CDT. I got the CDT right. I usually say CST. And we're going to be working within the Gaza Strip. We're going to be working within what's going on over there. There's a lot running over there right now, currently. And then we're also going to be working on the reversal templating within the 11th dimensional Stargate systems. And what I wanted to talk to you about, Noko, and everyone watching today, is about these 11D reversal Stargate locations that seem to primarily be in Northern Europe, Eastern and Western Europe locations. And what I've been kind of coming to realize is this kind of falls a lot around these organic ancient defender grids that have been installed into the planet. And I've been talking about this concept has been kind of coming up. It's been looming over the last, I don't know, probably the last year as we've gone deeper in grid work, because we've conquered a lot of reversal stargates. And I don't want to say conquered. We have grown through it, and we've learned a lot. And we've gained a lot of wisdom and experience. But there's still a lot more work to be done within those reversal systems. Of course, it's a never-ending job, isn't it? Land shamanism, the future grid work technology revolution that's going on the planet right now. My gosh, it is expanding. I had a gal tell me, and I'm going to get so sidetracked in this today, but that's okay because we're multidimensional. She's like, I just went on a tour over somewhere in Europe, and the guide was saying, this is a Stargate. This is a Stargate. He was just a regular old tour guide talking about Stargates. So I'm like, yeah, I mean, this consciousness is becoming, I think, unconsciously more awakened within just, the everyday, person. I mean, and maybe, the unawakened aren't, fully necessarily grabbing the entire grasp of what it means internally in terms of ascension and ascension, but there is an awareness around the living intelligence and spirit body of the earth field, right? And that we have these sacred sites on the earth that can activate us, they can transform us, they can ultimately turn us into a Stargate. They can completely upgrade our DNA to the next hyperwave and future timelines, the next level of the DNA encoding that we need to ultimately anchor the new Earth. And it's just amazing how much these Stargates upgrade us. I mean, when I meet people who've truly been a grid worker for maybe the last, let's say, consciously the last 10 years or more or less or whatever, and they've been to a lot of Stargate locations to get those codes and activations, my gosh, their DNA is lit. It is lit. These are people, when I come into contact with them, they're activating me. I mean, it's just portal, timeline opening, like 2 years, 5 years into the future. It's just like complete expansion, download, integration, and activation that rolls into, I mean, just thousands at one time. I can feel it, an eternal roll, just heart blade wave field, 4-chamber activation. It's amazing. So
Yeah, you're sparking so much over here. I just have to say, I like got my pen because I'm like, holy cow, I have to write some stuff down. I think we do that to each other, right?
yes,
Which is
absolutely.
it's a great co-creation. It's a great collaboration. Um, when I came back from DC, right, from our mission in DC, and we had our trials and tribulations there. That wasn't an easy place to navigate, to be in. It was a labyrinth. We had a lot of what I would call that we had some attacks. I mean, let's not lie, right?
Yeah.
Even in my astral realm, and you've talked about this when you were in Rome. So I wasn't surprised, and I was protected. I had a beautiful dog. The place that I stayed had this protection dog. Shout out to you, you amazing, sweet, sweet soul. He was right by my bed that night and like took care of me. And it's funny because my friend brought him over here. She was visiting here from DC recently and brought him here. And he came down and activated some things in my spiritual room. Like I literally watched him go over and activate items that are very sacred. So he's just a special guy. But when I came back from DC, I was on a different frequency. Like in that airport in Atlanta, I had to hang around for a while before I could get picked up. I was like, and I've shared this story before, I was like in my mastery level, like praying to people, giving stickers to the children, playing my sound bowls. Like I was there doing grid work and I had not planned it. It was not, I had my flower halo on. People love when you have things that make them smile. Just remember, like if you think, oh, I'm being weird or you like to dress up or something like that, that might be your gift. Like this is part of grid working. If you can make people feel in their hearts love and smiling and they feel your codes and they get upgrades and activations when they meet you, like Indy was just talking about, this is what it is. And you carry that from place to place. Like it's really that intricate. So I love that you brought that up. Thank you so much. And I also wanted to touch on the Stargate thing because that's what came in when I kind of opened up to Stonehenge. I think I've shared with you, Indy and I have had this sun halo connection. So when I came to her house and we went to the beach, we had a sun halo at the beach. And it was a divine moment of even noticing it and realizing. And so I know how important that is. And I've seen so many of those. If you guys are sky watchers, you've probably been seeing sun halos or these little rainbow, what you want to call them, like almost like compass points around the sun. And I've been tuning into these, and my son Kingston, he's 10 now, he tunes into them. And I asked him about it one day when we were outside, and he gave me this whole download on Stargates. And that when those little rainbow compass points show up, it's a Stargate that needs repair. And he would do work. He would grab a crystal, and he would do this work. And then one of the times he did it, it literally like disappeared after he did it. And I was like, oh wow, okay. Um, so when you brought up the Stonehenge and I started tuning in, actually right before we got on this call, I got this immediate connection to Sun Halo and those rainbow compass points. And I said, oh, Stargate repair, and we talk about these reversal spots. I think it's really, and that's part of the collective mind turning on to this information because it's all happening right there in our sky. It's kind of hard to ignore if you're in the sun and you're getting these codes and these light codes and frequencies that are coming in, you don't have a choice. You're gonna upgrade a little bit.
Absolutely. And I just want to give a shout out to everyone coming in. So we got 37 in the room with us. And just so you guys know, I do have it on subscribers only. So you are going to have to subscribe for at least 60 seconds to join the chat, but we would love to have you in the chat. And Noko, just so you know, we have Arizona Raven, we have Typical Skeptic, we have Rob here, we got Earth Sign, uh, Tony Ghazi, and yeah, so everyone's just coming in. Hey guys, happy April 1st, 2024. It's Earth Month, as Noko had mentioned to me the other day. So it's a perfect month to be talking about grid work, doing grid work, and doing the remote sessions on location, boots on the ground, grid work. So it's just we're kind of coming into that time where it's all reawakening again. And it's a really good time to do more of this work and to get into the current intel and what's going on in the grid. So yeah, thanks for talking so much on your experience with broken stargates, and how, you've come to see this just within the reflection of the firmament and the atmosphere, because yeah, it absolutely is playing out within our external perception, right? I just seen the other day, even it wasn't a halo around the sun, but it was the entire creation spectrum, like the entire chakra system, like the entire it was just integrated into the sky. It just was, I seen the whole rainbow across the sky as if I was in Lemuria, right here down in Pensacola. And I was like, wow, we are getting the higher harmonic heaven codes coming through right now. It was a complete 7D update day. And this was just a few days ago. So I was just really taken back by that. And yeah, there's so much Stargate repair that has to happen, not only on a personal level internally, because we have Stargates within us that go all the way from the first dimension all the way to the 12D. We have Stargates that are creational portals within our field, and they connect us into the race morphogenetic field. They connect us into the aurora ray passageways. They connect us into the old Earth timelines and ancient light grid matrices that uphold previous timelines that hold our eternal records and our Akashic records. So there's so much that comes through just by awakening the holographic spiritual anatomy of the stargates within our consciousness fields as we become stargates. But then as we do that, we do start to receive the messages to expand beyond our own internal repair and start applying that to the grid, start applying that to the holographic field of the planet's body. And so this is really what's this mission and this knowledge, this gnosis is really what's led us down this grid worker wormhole, so to speak. And then as we've gained those freedom codes and we've been upgraded by the dove and the swan and the grid and Christ of consciousness and all of this stuff, right? Then we've accessed deeper levels of our indigo type templating, and we've come into the awareness that we actually have the ability to extract. We actually have the ability to rescue. We actually have the ability to restore and upgrade the stargates. So this is really what the focus has been about as we kind of step into mastery within all of this, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I mean, grid work is fairly new to me consciously. I was doing grid work. I think a lot of grid workers say this, right? We're doing grid work before we even realize what we're doing. And then once you start
Mhm.
learning, and like when I took Indy's, when I was doing Indy's course, the first one for Gridwork Facilitator, I had all these light bulb moments of like, wow, I'm already doing this. I already know a lot of this internally. It's just remembering and turning that switch back on. And so I'm just so very thankful and I'm excited for our next, big grid work education drop because I think each time it's just another, library, physical library for people to tap into when they're ready, when they have their, moment of like, okay, that's calling me. I need to do that. I need to learn more about that. And then they realize, wow, I was already doing this, and this is just gonna make me even better. This is going to activate so many more of my gifts and, the parts of my mission that maybe I didn't know how I would do. Things start becoming really clear. So,
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it's incredible how we get these big mission downloads, right? How we just instinctually connect the locations that have to be worked on. I think energetically through the ley lines, it's almost like we're ley line surfing.
mm,
And we tune in, and then it's just like the network, the internal navigation sphere and mapping system presents itself. And it's
mhm.
really fluid, isn't it? It's very fluid. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everybody has their own way of tapping into that and like getting their information. Like for me, I literally just have to set that intention. I'm at
Mhm.
that point, and things will just come in. And as long as I'm open to receive and I'm confident in my knowing, it's really beautiful. And that's part of why the remote missions and the boots on the ground missions are so cool because we get together and each of us is bringing our own piece of that puzzle. And like Indy, if you're in these remote missions, you can watch some of them. Indy has a great playlist she put together with our some of our past awesome, powerful missions. And you can see in them like one person will say something or do something and it activates someone else, and then they get their information, and then they share and they put that in, and it creates this big, beautiful picture at the end. And we all get, not only does Earth get, healing and activations and all this love, like we each get our own, gifts from it. So it's just a beautiful give and take, right? That's what like abundance is about. Like you have to do both sides of the coin, giving and receiving. And I think grid work is a great way to practice that.
It definitely is. And I just posted in the chat, guys, the link to the Gridworker mission playlist. it's not all of our missions in there, but we have maybe like 10 or 12 of the most recent ones that I think are most relative to helping people get an idea, if you're new to what grid work is, going and kind of watching how we do some of this remote facilitation,
Yeah.
and steer that
And
ship. Yeah.
those are just a lot of them are sneak peeks, right? So if people want like full replays, you guys can join Indy's Patreon, which is amazing. It has a lot of resources and deals depending on, what level you go in at. But check that out because those will give you the full um, replays. If any of those are just sneak peeks and you're like, oh, I want to see more of that, it's totally available for you.
Yes, we have all the full videos on patreon.com/IndigoAngel. And Noko, you know what I was thinking? Let's just maybe dive into the math. So we can talk about Stonehenge a little bit because I
Mm.
think we're alluding to this. We're leading up to everything that we kind of want to go into in terms of the basis of the Stargate, what I've been seeing, what you've been seeing, why this is kind of a fundamental piece as to what's going on in Gaza and just all these other locations that we're really running a lot of, warfare codes at this time collectively, and why this really cancers around hijacked location. So I just want to say Stonehenge wasn't always like a hijacked location. I think it's more recent in terms of the last 6,000 years of history, biblical doctrine, coming in with the fall of man programming and the fall of the Nephilim and the forced breeder programs. So this all kind of came in with the fall of Atlantis, and it's still not even technically, like there are pure energies there, but it has essentially been harvested or hijacked. Aspects of it have been. So let's get into maybe what those aspects are. And then we can maybe do a little remote reading and just see if we pick up on anything else coming through. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, this will be nice because everybody can just get a little taste. And then if they want more, we're going to be going remote mission tomorrow and hitting these grids. So you guys have an opportunity either through the Patreon or through her site. I'm sure we'll share links, but this is going to be just a taste. And I'm so excited. Like at first I was kind of like, oh, Stonehenge. I never really like paid it too much attention to it yet grid wise. And as soon as I started tuning in and you asked me to, and I was like, why? And then, wow, I'm a crystal keeper. And when I started tuning in to Stonehenge, it has some very interesting stones there. Obviously, that's like the main attraction. So things started becoming pretty clear about why I was going to be a part of this. And well, it's not our first time with stones. We did Easter Island, right? And had some pretty cool transmissions coming through from those heads one time. But
Well,
yeah.
it brings me back to the point that I've been trying to get across. And I think the best way to do that is going to be to create diagrams, right?
Mhm.
Create like maps so people can download the templating and understand that within the Earth's field, everything is built upon matrices. Everything is built upon a spiritual holographic structure that emanates from the halls of Amenti, the race morphogenetic field of the planet, the internal electromagnetic field. And within that, there's light matrices that build up timelines. There's light matrices that build up the reality fields in which humans come to experience. There's tampered interlays of control fences, frequency fences, and other types of matrices essentially that try to hijack, siphon, tamper, or weaken those organic light matrices. But within that, I feel what's been coming up is there's a defender force on the planet. There's a um, ancient spiritual system that's been installed on the planet that will defend humanity, humans, the earth, and if in which a diabolical doomsday presents itself, or any other forms of planetary modification and weapon systems in which the negative ETs and the negative controllers have ultimately come to install on the planet. So that defender force I've been finding is weaved into the stones. It's weaved into all of the major megalithic sites on the planet, including the pyramids, all of the pyramids all over the world. So one of those defender networks is all of the pyramids all over the world. I think there's over 300,000 of them all over the earth, but they create one fabric of a defender force that protects the planet spiritually. Then there's also the megalithic and stone defender fabric, basically, defender matrices. And the primary location of this megalithic stone, Stonehenge, stone circle, dolmen, menhir, stone defender force is primarily located in the United Kingdom and Northern Ireland and Scotland and Northern Europe. And it's because I do believe it was probably the Celtics and the Druids that laid down over 35,000 megalithic stone structures all over this area. Now, it's all over the world, right? Easter Islands is probably the #1 defense system of an ancient spiritual technology in which we have, because there's 1,000 of the Moai statues, which are big, big stones that can be attuned through sound frequency to open up inner earth gate sites for us to access it, to extract the beast machines, the trons, the fallen programming, whatever it is, the Maldek, the reptilian body, the planetary weapons. We can actually attune these stones, which is going to be one of the big missions that we have coming up in September. We are going to be going to Kauai, Hawaii, and potentially Easter Islands as well. We may go there as a pre-activation. We've been talking about this kind of on the sidelines just a little bit. It would be go there to get the codes from Easter Islands. But the point I'm trying to make is that the concentration of this megalithic stone defender force is primarily in the United Kingdom. And why I think that is because Stonehenge is actually, on its organic level before it was hijacked, is an inner earth gateway access point to Tiamat's body. So it's one of the original access points to the dragon's body, basically. So we talk about recollecting our dragon parts, which I think is the encompassing faction of all angelic realms, and the original divine mother mitochondria and spirit body, in which originally hosted the planet spirits, beginning with Tara, beginning with Avalon, beginning with Albion, beginning with the timelines of Tiamat prior to impact, trauma, and implosion on the planet. So it's holding such an immense gateway, so to speak, with very powerful preservation of original consciousness codes in terms of the planetary's knowledge and records. So I think that's probably why there's so many of the stone megalithics just concentrated in this region, is it's a very fertile crescent soil, so to speak, to just the original consciousness spirit body of the earth in general, if that's kind of making sense. Oh, Noko, I think you're muted.
Yeah,
Oh, you can see that.
Yeah, you definitely are bringing some deep, deep information and connections to what I was already feeling, because I mean, as a crystal keeper, one of the first things I do if stones are involved, I tune into them. And and there's some interesting stories in the Stonehenge ones in particular where they're not all from that location. So they were literally brought there at different times potentially. But the main thing that I received in the crystals and the stones was a protective mechanism. It was this protection piece. And when you talked about the matrices, I was seeing and I think this goes with any crystals, I was seeing that, based on the way that they're put into the land, there is certain veins or connection points with crystals and stones where you're going to get a more amplified frequency, or you're going to actually be able to unlock a certain gift where it is a piece of a puzzle, right? And we've worked with that. I think that was Easter Island when we worked with that a little bit. Where we actually did some moving of pieces and unlocking things. And so I think the way that they have them there set up, people always talk about the calendar aspect and the solar aspect, and I think there's multiple technologies in this particular site from when I tuned into it. And the way that they've placed the stones has a big thing to do with like where on the grid they're placed and where they're locking into these certain ley lines, and that they're able to actually do other things. So when Indy said sound, this is something that I think is a big piece at the Stonehenge. I don't know that it's working currently with the way that it is set up, but I think that it was originally used in that way, where this sound vibration, this frequency could be amplified and potentially, do some special healing or special protection for the grids and for humanity and creation, really. Super cool.
Yes. I was
Super.
just trying to go back and pull up my back screen here so I can look at
Oh,
the comments coming through because I'm on screen share right now. But
oh
yeah,
yeah,
guys.
yeah. We should totally see the comments. I know I can't see. Maybe I could go on my
Well,
live
I
and
can pull up the back. We could see the chat here for just a moment. Hey, everyone. Come on. Yeah, come on, guys, if you're still coming in the room. But we're just discussing right now currently Stonehenge, this reversal location, this newly hijacked location that is something worth having a discussion about. I feel there's a lot of mystery around this. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of not knowing if people should work with this location. So we're hoping to bring some clarity around this today, and talk about exactly just how important this site really is to, I think, correcting the other reversal locations around the world in general, and what's continuing to run through the Archangel Michael ley line, through the temples of Apollyon, through CERN, through the Vatican, and being kind of a generational and a powering hub that continues to impact other sites that are trying to overcome an interlay of black hole technology, essentially, in the gate system. So yeah, we're going to be going into this more and more. And if you guys have any questions as we discuss this today, feel free to drop it down in the comments. I have to say, I mean, between me and Noko, because Noko's been with me for so long, we've been working on Gridworker technology together now for over a year, maybe going on a couple years now. She's done Gridwork Facilitator Course 1 with me as basically my co-host, and she's going to be co-hosting Gridwork Facilitator 2.0, in which we have coming up April 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th. And so we're really excited to be kicking this off with you guys. You can find all the links and all of the information in the description of this video. I think I at least put the most important ones in as I was trying to hurry and get everything set up for this live. But yeah, you just want to go to learn.indigoangel222.com and you can reserve your spot in that course, as we're going to continue to be expanding off of everything that we're talking about today. And Noko has amazing insight. She's so smart. She has so much Gridworker intel. She's hosted many, many remote missions with me together. And she's leaded some really powerful missions. And, you're kind of the queen of sound healing. That is your specialty.
come
So
on.
I love when you bring that into the remote mission work. And I know your insight is going to be extremely important for when we tackle Kauai, Hawaii, because that is all about 12th dimensional sound healing wisdom. So
Yeah.
to work on those stones, right? Like this is about stonework, which is interesting.
It is very interesting. And there's a huge piece too I want to bring in for everyone of our ancestry. Like that whole defense mechanism you were talking about, I'm realizing that it's actually like powered by our ancestors. And it actually is really important that we give thanks and that we honor them on the daily. To be honest, I don't think we all do that enough. So I'm just bringing that forth as a part of our grid work because for this particular mission, because there's something there that we're tapping into that goes so far in our root, in our right, in our history, in our timelines. And it's really special. It's like a hug, it's like a grandfather hug. It's like a protective, it's very masculine and yeah, it's interesting because I have a story in my family that I found out after my great grandfather passed away. I was looking at photos and he had this big stone on his grave. And I hadn't seen it before. And I asked my family about it because it was this beautiful, like white and pink, big stone, like it just came out of the mountain. It wasn't polished. It wasn't normal grave site stone. And I asked my family, and they said they didn't know the whole story, but he got it. He like brought it there. Like he brought it from somewhere else, and wanted this for his, for when he was going to pass for his sacred space. And it like made me realize the lineage of crystal keeping in my family. I knew it went to my grandmother, but then tracking it up to my great grandfather was pretty cool. So there's this like connection with me and stones,
Mm,
and now
yeah.
doing this work with Stonehenge and the sound healing part of it, because the stones are working with the water in our body, right? When we work with crystals, it's the same thing that sound is doing, right? So there's this really strong connection with the water in our body and the sacredness of that, and being able to fine tune it, with these components that really come from Mother Earth, from creation, right? And the sound healing, like when we do our remote missions, it's such an important part. I've noticed, like with clearings and things like that, we have a couple of people that do light language, other than just myself, and or use our voices in that way. And it can be really, really powerful. And the most interesting thing about all of this, I just started getting back into my music, and last night I was writing a piece, and that's what came through was how powerful our voices are when we use them boldly. And so I just think that this is all coming together so beautifully for this site, and what we're going to be able to do together tomorrow and really amplify all of this healing and this love that I'm feeling right now with working. I mean, the site, like Indy said, it had good intentions. And that's why we have to go and kind of do some rescue missions sometimes on these places.
Yes,
Because they
yes,
know the
yes.
power. That's what they go after. You know what I mean?
And just as you were saying with the crystal work, how you're really called to it, if you think about what's kind of at the forefront of a lot of people's awakening, like what are the things that people connect with the most in the beginning of their spiritual journey? And a lot of times for people, that's connecting with crystals, right? And it's the crystals, as we connect with them, that slowly open up those psychic abilities, heal and soothe the subtle body, aid us in that interdimensional, multidimensional realm in which is unexplainable and undefinable and confusing, especially for many of us in the beginning of this journey. And it's the crystals that guide us through it. And it's because it's the reckoning, it's the remembering, it's the awakening of what we truly are, the crystal intelligence, and the basis of our spiritual gnosis and understanding going all the way back to Atlantis and Lemuria. It's awakening those priestess and priesthood codes and initiations within us and takes us back and then comes full circle again and again, because it's reawakening the grid worker codes inside of you as well, because it's giving you more access to the original crystal grid matrix inside of the planet, which is truly what we're grounded and rooted in, that activates the psychic intelligence globally and sustains the spiritual immune system globally in the planet. So it's, I mean, people don't realize, I think, how extensive that crystal labyrinth is just when they're going and finding a crystal at the crystal store. Like, this is what you're drawing into you, is this entire planetary gnosis crystal structure, diamond architecture, whatever you know, however you kind of relate. It's very, you know, intricate in its own way if we go into the dynamicism of it. But yeah, it's powerful. It's amazing. And I just want to go back to the comments really quick, actually, because we did have a few, Noko, questions coming through. So let's see here if I can find questions. Liz says, hello, Indy and Noko. Love this topic. Would love to hear your thoughts on Glastonbury if possible. I've heard it is the heart chakra of the planet. Is that true? Well, Glastonbury, yeah, I think it has been identified as a heart chakra. There are other heart chakra locations, though, and I think there's a heart chakra network. But yeah, it's definitely a fourth dimensional gate system and location. Luna Rio says, does it make sense to sign up if you haven't done Gridworker 1? Yes, you can still sign up for Gridwork Facilitator 2. Honestly, it's gonna have a lot of the base information of the first Gridworker course, because we do try to bring people from beginner to the advanced levels. So we do have to go back through and recover some just like basic foundational things to kind of pull people to the advanced levels, because we really try to prepare the individual for being an actual facilitator. So you have to get all of the basic functioning and information, and I call it lexicon protocol of the grid work. You have to kind of bring in, tie in all those pieces. So yeah, each gridwork course is designed to offer certification as a gridwork facilitator. So you will have all of the skills necessary. Now, we do cover expanded aspects in each one of the courses of gridwork, and that's going to be different in each gridworker course. The mission work that we do in each course is also going to be different. So you can take all of the gridworker courses, or you can just join in for one. Either way, you're going to get everything you need to become a gridwork facilitator. And that's at learn.indigoangel222.com if you would like to register for the course. We'd love to have you. We're so excited to be offering this. Again, it is one of my most requested courses. And the fact that I'm getting to do it again, it just shows the interest in it and the success in it, that people really, really, truly believe in this coursework. Bringing forth the protocols, the methodologies, also the grid worker etiquette, which is something we're going to get into in this course that we did in the first course, was etiquette and just kind of like ethics overall. Okay, so let's go back to the map. What do you think, Noko? We'll kind of talk about Stonehenge so we stay on topic, because we can go 1,000 directions simultaneously at one time.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention we do, for those that are joining number 2 and haven't done number 1, we have a special deal for you. So just email me if you want to take part in that, and you can get a deal on getting Gridwork 1. Do you have, I guess maybe I can throw it in the comments. Let me see if I can get on my live. It's info@IndigoAngel222.com, right? Let me see.
Yes. So yeah, if anyone wants the discount or the coupon codes, because we're doing one coupon code for returning students. Okay, and then we're also doing one for new signups that if they would like to take Facilitator 1, we're giving a discount code for 1 if they join Gridwork Facilitator 2.0. So yeah, all you have to do is just email into info@indigoangel222.com and we would be happy to give you those discount codes. All right, so we got Stonehenge here up on the map. I kind of zoomed into it a little bit. Let's go a little bit closer to it here. It's so simple at the same time, right? Look at this. Like it's just kind of in the middle of a big field. See how big the field is that it's in?
Yeah, and I was really tuning into those land formations. Like when you look further out from there, there's several of those, circular kind of land. There's little mounds. And that was really calling my attention as well, which I think I saw somebody talking about in the comments, maybe somebody that was from that area.
Okay, so well, let's talk about why Stonehenge currently is considered a hijacked location. I think, and I want to say, I think for one, um, any area in the grid that has acquired a level of notoriety, people in the world have taken note of it, the power of the energy, um, it becomes a target. It becomes a target for negative infiltration because it's a powerful vortex in which the negative controllers want to utilize, tap into, and essentially, get whatever they can get out of it. If they can hijack it entirely, they will. A lot of these gate systems, they can't hijack entirely because they're connected to natural and organic ley lines and crystal systems, inner earth river systems, direct portals to the inner earth gate sites, connections to the race morphogenetic field, whatever it is. There's a natural flow of energy in which I think ultimately can't be hijacked by humans, and also not even the negative race species, even though some of the most detrimental negative race species do have a lot of earth controlling technology in which they can utilize essentially. But Stonehenge, kind of the collapse and the hijacking of this really falls around the timeline of Atlantis. And how it goes and what is said is that there's actually a giant crystal that is installed so far under the ground in this location. And it's kind of acting like a final collection point, okay, for loosh energy, stolen life force energy, whatever's kind of being ran through the ley lines on the Albion Dragon line, they're running through the UK. And it's really kind of, I think, plugged into a negative Orion battleship Stargate control network that has to do with a fallen dragon grid, and also like a fallen Elohim angelic grid, and it has a lot to do with fall programming. So I think what's encoded in this underground crystal is the global fall programming of humankind or mankind, and that this is installed in some sort of nefarious or negative crystal record inside of that crystal, and it's somehow protected up underneath that gate system. And I think there's other reversal 11th dimensional gate systems around this gate that also protect that negative fall programming that's installed in that crystal at Stonehenge. Some other locations are the Ireland's Eye, the Irish Sea, St. Ives Bay in Cornwall. There's another one that I'm forgetting. It's like the Devil's Hole or the Devil's Eye or something like that. It's basically like a rock pit that goes down far into like the ocean, and there's like a bunch of swells up underneath there that's been known for also being hijacked energetically as well. But essentially, it's said to be running um, the emanation of the checkerboard mutation, which is basically a scatter radiation grid template that disrupts the organic crystal grids and organic light matrices inside of the planet. And it kind of serves as an interlay that's also running through the water codes in the Atlantic Ocean that runs just reversal energy and reversal currents, and also locking veils and perceptions into a polarity template. So it runs like the bi-wave scatter radiation templates, which ultimately limit the consciousness field from tapping into the triunal fields and the higher templates. Essentially, it's basically an extreme polarity amplification in the collective consciousness. And so this definitely highly is what ultimately supports all negative and reversal matrices, Metatronic matrices, Tothian and Enlil, Sumerian, Babylonian, you know, the Dark Ages, the detriment of the Piscean Age, and all of the Roman timelines as well, the Cathars, France. It's really one of the major distribution points of disruptor fields through electromagnetic waves that, you know, propagates the fallen timelines to just continually to exist, essentially. So all of this is kind of accumulated here in this negative encoded crystal that's underneath the ground at Stonehenge. So what do you think about this, Noko? What is this bringing to you, just as we kind of gently discuss this here?
Well, I mean, it goes along with what I was saying as far as where those stones are tapped in and what they're connecting to. So it feels like that crystal underneath is a part of um, it factors in big time for the whole piece to work. So if it's been hijacked, that is a huge, huge problem. And yeah, I think it's something that we'll probably be diving into tomorrow with figuring out what we can do to help kind of clear and reverse or put back into organic template order. That will be high on my list of to-dos, especially if we're starting there, because I know we're just going to get deeper and deeper going to the Giza-Gaza kind of connection. I mean, that's a lot when we do these missions. Like we do a couple of hours usually, and it just never feels like there's enough time, right? Because there's so much to be done. But it's always divine what comes through and where we end up. Sometimes it's not what we plan, even, I've noticed. So I'm interested to see where we go tomorrow with the depth of this and how much it connects. Because if you look at the map from where that point is, there's some interesting other areas over. I think Moscow was almost in line, if I remember correctly, when I was looking. So I am very interested.
Let's come out and see here.
Yeah, I'm very interested in the ley line and what else it's touching. And, we've seen some connections with that in the past, kind of having a parallel then come down and hit, the vertical line that's going to be where we're working somewhere else. It's very interesting how these things kind of overlay.
Oops. I was going to draw on here just a second, but that was the wrong tool. Let's see, line tool, straight path. I just wanted to draw a line across here to see.
Yeah, I see Ukraine right there. That's jumping out.
Boop, 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 boop. Okay. Well, it's definitely higher up. I would say this is probably 44th parallel or close to. Um, and really everything between the 22nd to the 44th, I think, are the hypertension zone areas on the planet. We know that the 33rd parallel is, very activated. The 33rd parallel would be running down here in Giza, basically just running right through the fourth planetary Stargate. So between here and here, this is the contention zone on the planet, basically.
Well,
This
and
is where,
interesting, I called out Ukraine. Look at that. If you put a straight line up from the Gaza Giza area, you're running right into that location.
right, let's see, let's tune in just a little bit.
Yeah.
Where does this put us exactly here? Mongolia. Is this Ukraine here? This little
No, if you go
patch?
west, you want to go west. You're a little too far over.
Okay, okay, okay.
Keep going. So right where your star is, where Gaza Giza is, put a straight line up and you'll end up in Ukraine, which is
Oh
exactly
gosh,
where
I was way too far.
oh
What
no, I
I
think
was
that's oh well that's what
okay. Yeah. All right. Wow. Yeah. Okay. This
so
intersection point here, interesting.
there's something there because it was definitely already laid on my heart previously. And then when we started talking about that, it came up again and I immediately was drawn to Ukraine. And then if you look, even the other, what's the other star you had down there? Is that Cairo or what's that Egypt spot you had
Yes, this
link?
is the Giza pyramids.
Oh, there you go.
This
Okay.
one here.
So if you
Yeah.
put a line from there, that's almost right to Ukraine. Wow.
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
yes, coming up here, yes.
Okay.
But this would be interesting to look at and see where all of the war is going on with Russia. If these are not some of the locations where some of these like encampments are located, right? That's probably a very pivotal spot. Okay, very interesting. Um, yeah, and that's just north of the Temple Mount in Jerusalem, which is another very powerful Anunnaki Stargate location in which we have massive religious and spiritual warfare that's unfolding at that location, one of the most highest contention zones on the planet currently at this time. So, yeah, between Stonehenge and so the intersection of Stonehenge and the intersection of the Temple Mount, we have this location here. So yeah, we need to do a little research on that, don't we, Noko, and kind of figure out and drop it down in the comments, guys, if you know maybe the city or the exact location of kind of where some of this stuff is playing out. Because I wouldn't doubt it. This is probably significant for something coming through here.
Yeah, and that Black Sea is, I feel like, going to come up tomorrow because there's something there. I'm feeling very strong stone crystal connection to the Stonehenge crystal that you were just talking about in the ground. Something in the Black Sea there, which is on that same line. So it's very interesting.
Ah, yes. Hmm.
Yeah. So this is just so y'all know, y'all you beginner grid workers, this is just what we do. Like you can do this with your friend if you guys are kind of, in tune and just take some time and connect in. And this is how you get your intel and start to kind of focus in, you know, um,
Yeah,
divine
because
leads
it's really
us.
about trusting your own intuition and your own ability to kind of scan your own internal structures emotionally, energetically, holographically, spiritually, whatever it is, and apply that to the earth field, basically. So it's a natural intuitive thing in which you just kind of, harness. And I think when you're around other people that are doing it, it definitely activates the ability more quickly, like the awareness around how to tune in and take note. But that was a great observation, Noko. We're going to definitely have to explore that more with the group, I think, because we know there's something going on there. Coming back to Stonehenge, though, I'm just going to tune in. So I'm just kind of come in more and more and more so we can maybe look kind of at the stones from this pyramidal viewpoint. Now, one thing I've kind of tuned into just when I'm kind of connecting this is when we talk about grid worker ethics, or we talk about, you know, what people are bringing here. And I think a lot of people come here definitely during major portals and gateways like the equinox, the solstice, and people are doing a lot of ritual magic here. A lot of ritual magic of all different kinds, different worships of different gods and diversity, a lot of paganism and, you know, just freedom spirituality, basically God, sovereign freedom spirituality. But at the same time, you know, how much of that interlay and overlay becomes distorted, transfigured, activated, running through this gate system. So when we talk about ethics, or we talk about, you know, are we doing the right things here? It's really kind of a big unknown, because I think people from all over the world are bringing their essence of spirituality here, which at the same time ultimately isn't necessarily a bad thing. But there could be a lot of nefarious or demonic spirit work or satanic ritual abuse that would also be being utilized at this location, especially with a negative programmed fall of man crystal sitting up underneath this. And why that is because of the Nephilim. Okay, so it's considered a headquarter to the Nephilim grid templating. So I'm wondering if this itself isn't the exact location in which the Nephilim descended, supposedly. I mean, right? That for some reason kind of hits me in the gut a little bit. Like, is this not the exact location in which the fall of man took the first organic original human and inserted his seed? Maybe it was right here inside of the stone circle.
Wow.
Just a thought. it feels like wow. What a powerful ritual that could have occurred.
Yeah, that's pretty deep. And you, I mean, did you have that connection with something with the Gaza Giza as far as um this type of fall of man programming?
Right. So the fall of man programming, I've been giving a lot more thought to this. It's definitely something, a consciousness that descended in the Atlantean time. I think it was solidified through patriarchal domination and control and through biblical doctrine. Basically through the prophetic family descent from Abraham, which was technically connected to the Enlil priesthood of Ur. But it's basically the belief that people, humans, angelic humans, and angels are not held accountable to their blueprint upon creation. So it's the belief that they come in pure and then fall out of that state of high morality and integral code in terms of transgressions with divine will. And they then fall from that grace, essentially. This is kind of like the basis, I think, of the fall programming belief that has been biblically installed, basically, through the parts of the Bible in which speak about the Nephilim coming down and mating with the women of Earth, basically. I feel like there's falsity in this. There's a Decepticon, that this is an archontic deception. Because some of the stuff that I've been tuning to recently, and just in terms of my own gnosis, is that every being that's come into incarnation is basically held accountable to their blueprint on this earth. So it's kind of like installing this huge veil that we are eternally bad, or we are eternally damaged, or we are in some way eternally responsible, I guess, for the corrosion of mankind, um, which we are essentially responsible and accountable to it. But it's the belief that we're not good, essentially. And it's kind of, I think it gives some sort of justification program to run to allow it to exist and continue to propagate the consciousness field of it just in general. So, yeah, I do think that this is the core crystal generating location in which houses that consciousness to exist within the landmass, within the ley lines, to continue to distort the dragon's consciousness field, and create the separation and run that into degraded areas such as the Gaza-Giza Strip, and maybe even, uh, running it through the Stargate ley lines and network connections, those inversions. Um, I think Giza is definitely a location in which houses a lot of deception as well, even though it is considered primarily a non-reversal Stargate location. Um, but I think that's the covertness in a lot of this as well, is because if these transmissions are running from, let's say, Stonehenge, which seems kind of crazy, right? Because it's running like a angular code. It's running a I don't know, that wouldn't be perpendicular, but it's just like but most of the ley lines are running angularly as it is. I mean, this passageway here, you could see from Stonehenge all the way down to the Temple Mount. I mean, this is running, I guess it would be perpendicular to the Archangel Michael ley line. I mean, ultimately, the Archangel Michael ley line is running down just a little bit lower here through Rome. But either way, uh, it's all about hijacking the blue flame, the blue energy, the first primal light source field, the I think it's called the ecstatic or the ecstatic fields of primal creation. And so it would just be like a attempt of hijacking the organic blue ray ultimately. And they can do this, and they have been doing this through technology to distort those consciousness fields within those particular primal light rays and run those inversions and distortions into the gate systems to hijack the reality fields of humans and just the spiritual belief, and install contention between and warfare codes, antagonistic enemy codes and patterning, essentially, that cause people to go into warfare. So, I mean, definitely, I think that there's a connection point here between Stonehenge, the Temple Mount, and the fourth planetary Stargate, which we're talking about these Decepticon codes. I think that the fourth planetary Stargate is definitely hiding a lot here in terms of what they're doing and what their involvement is in terms of uh, the Giza-Gaza Satagate Network and kind of what's happening there and why the Palestinians are suffering the way they are. Because I think there's a lot of, covert warfare codes and underground things that happen through the Gaza Strip, in which whoever's in control of the Giza Stargate doesn't want people to know about. So Gaza's kind of like the scapegoat in terms of some of the dirty work in which they're involved in, and war and contention against Israel or the Temple Mount Stargate, which I think ultimately this comes down between Anunnaki bloodline faction warfare. Ultimately, yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing with it overall.
When you connected that triangle, it was like energetically something very significant to me. And so I don't know if there's something with sacred geometry and the hypotenuse of a triangle, but I'm definitely led to look further into that. And it feels like this connection with that fall of man frequency, where it's like this division. It's been put into so many of the world's religions, And it feels like there's this connection point here, especially with those lands over there. I mean, that's where the basis of a lot of those religions that make people feel like they've done wrong and sinned and need to repent. It's like that is the land over there where a lot of these religions, originated or were at least written to be the start of. So it's very interesting to me, and it does feel like a very strong programming of that division, war, and then also self-hatred, that virus that so many people are dealing with, where they don't see their own power and their own worth. And it's like the perfect point. It's like the Achilles heel for a human being, right? Like if you don't want them to be connected to God, if you don't want them to be able to actually use their heart chakra for the power that it has, well, make them think that, that they're hated, that they're wrong, that they should feel not worthy. And that will be all you need to do to disconnect somebody from God, right? Because that is literally how we are worthy, is that we know that we are created, and that we are, perfectly designed. And so it's very interesting, like how simple of a, little wrench they can throw in there to try to really change things. But it then also makes it so simple for us to reverse it. So that's exciting.
Right, because once it's seen, it becomes conscious, and then it becomes kind of like an accelerated wave in which can expand. And then that consciousness is what awakens for change. So yeah, I mean, it's not all bad, but because we know the process of alleviating the darkness and the density, but it is a process. It is a process, and it has to unfold out through time, and through expansion and through awakening. So yeah, there's a lot of work we can do here. There's a lot of hope here, is basically what Noko is summing up here. There's a lot of hope. There's a lot that we can do in terms of grid workers to clear, and connect in here. Let's just, you know what I want to see really quick. So this line, let's see where this crosshair line goes through. Well, I was off actually with drawing it, wasn't I? So it's probably going to go up more like this way. Okay. But no, it doesn't run through Gaza, but it is close. The ley line between Stonehenge and Temple Mount. But you can see how contention-wise that we have the controllers of the fourth planetary Stargate, Giza, okay, whether they're running through a beast machine, through a Tron, through the gears of Giza, through directed energy weapons, whatever the ways they're trying to hijack and siphon this. We know they're trying to siphon the Suez Canal, and it's about, money, oil, and corruption and profit. And then over here, it's like more about like religious control. It's also about money, the Suez Canal, land, uh, not wanting to lose the land, land, ethnic cleansing, basically. It's about fighting over the land.
I was just
But
hearing
yeah,
genocide, and you said ethnic cleansing, so it's a huge piece of the puzzle over there. It feels like almost like a mass sacrificial lamb, so to speak. Which is I was like, oh my God, that's so hard for my heart to feel. I'm sure for you too. Uh, so I'm glad that we're able to tune in, because right, if we don't shine a light on that, and if we don't speak out more on that and work on that space, it's just going to continue to, right? Because I feel like that's how they amplify. It's like the numbers, and the more that they do that, it's like amplification. So if there's anything that we can do to, you know, reverse that magnification in any ways, so worth it.
well, you can see how this ley line runs from the Temple Mount straight through the Gaza Strip
Mhm.
to the fourth planetary Stargate in Giza. So I mean, it's definitely, it's a hot zone.
Mhm.
Okay, and there's a lot of, I think, again, yeah, trickery and deception that's kind of happening here because there's a great underground tunnel system here. So,
Mhm. And
yeah, I mean, it's
what is it
all
feeding, right? Because it's feeding something. It feels very much, mm,
black hole,
yeah.
a wormhole, a portal.
Mm,
Um, I think
mm,
envious and wrathful gods.
mm,
I think it's collecting loosh for God wars, basically, within the framework of the fall of man programming,
mm,
right?
mm,
It's held within a veil. It's held within a container of contention. It's held within a Templar harvesting egregore. Basically, I wonder how big that harvesting egregore is here. I mean, I almost see like an entire like loosh field that just kind of swells over this area, like the whole
mm.
area. Like it's just a yeah, it's really unfortunate because I mean, this is what came to me before we had got on Noko was there is no life on this earth that's more valuable than another.
Mhm.
No matter what race or what lineage or what gate system or what land or what, like it's all equally valuable. And so I just wonder where these lineages, these races, these patriarchal, predatorial, consciousness, mental fields have the audacity to think that it's more important than something else, like more entitled, more, you know, um,
Mm,
aggressive in that approach as well, like no shame, but really coming from shame,
mhm.
coming from their shame and lack. So
Yeah, they're
yeah,
just
it's
wounded. Yeah, it's just another cycle of that, right? It's like a spiral. And it brings me back to where we started with that deer medicine, like melting the demon on the mountain and opening up that path to Great Spirit. Like it sounds ridiculously too easy and simple, but it really like love is that powerful. And so, I'm reminded that as much as that feels heavy and a lot, that's why we're here. That's part of our missions, right? We signed up for this.
I was just seeing just a second ago. I think there's Templar seals. There's multiple Templar seals that are running here. So it may be good to do a Templar seal removal on
Mm.
this Stargate. Uh yeah, like a semi J seal removal on the Temple Mount, like crucifixion, persecution,
Ooh, I like it.
martyrdom codes. Yeah, I think that would be good. So yeah, we'll probably incorporate some of that tomorrow in the remote grid session. Um,
The Earth gets a J seal removal. Love it.
oh yeah, oh yeah. And anyone who's done a J cell removal with me will know at the end, we do focus on the planetary version of it because it's so important to be consciously working on where you're connecting in terms of your own land codes, in terms
Mhm.
of your own personal grids, and clearing those ley lines that would run, J seal encoding into your field.
Mm.
Okay, so I'll go back to you know what? I'm gonna go back over to, so if you go to my website, IndigoAngel222.com and go to my services tab, this one here, just scroll all the way down. And so this would be the Stonehenge reversal correction, 11 dimensional Stargate repair and clearing that we're going to be doing tomorrow at 12 p.m. CST. Me and Noko will be there. And yeah, guys, come and join us. We're calling in all of our original Guardian grid workers that have worked with us in the past. And we're calling in new grid workers as well. We would love to have you join us. Or maybe you're not a new grid worker, you've been doing grid work, but you'd like to come and bring your gifts, your skills, your intuition, your knowledge to the group and help us just go further and see things that, maybe me and even Noko don't see. So it's really is a group effort. And we tap into a collective mind shared field in which we can pull like this information, which is so amazing and so powerful. And so, yeah,
It feels
it's,
like a system, like after everything you and I just kind of, this felt important, like pre-work, because it feels like a whole system between Stonehenge and Gaza-Gaza. I think you were on point with connecting all of this after like sitting with it. And so, yeah, it's going to take way more than you and I. Everybody comes to the table, and some people don't say a thing or even want to be on camera, and that's okay. There's people that just are prayer warriors. There are people that are just holding love and sacred space or connecting into Mother Earth and, really holding it down in a protective way. So just know that whatever your gifts are, they're valued and we appreciate. I mean, it's important. We appreciate each and every person that shows up and even remotely after, because people that are catching the
Mhm.
replays, this is all multidimensional, it's holographic. So you're still adding in your gifts when you do the work later. So just thanks all around.
and also let's switch over. So yeah, Gridwork Facilitator 2.0. This is at learn.indigoangel222.com. This is the course work that we're going to be doing. So you can read all about the course curriculum that we have here. We just put out a fabulous email newsletter going into a lot of this description and information, and just kind of building some of the base information in terms of everything you need to know about this course. So be sure to sign up for newsletters at IndigoAngel222.com so that way you can stay in the know with us and know what's going on. But this at learn.indigoangel222.com, you can find the curriculum here so you can read everything that we're going to be going over in the classwork. And so, yeah, I'll go ahead and take the screen share off. And then let's go back and check the comments, Noko. Let's see what we have coming in here.
Gridwork
Wow, we have so
2.0.
much.
We've been building up to this. Like I feel like it was like divine timing, and you needed to do the goddess warrioress boot camp, and we need to get those upgrades and activations going and, really let this kind of simmer. And it feels so right with the timing, like you said in Earth Day that I noticed. It's just beautiful that we're going to be, and we end on like another remote mission. So we're doing 2 remote missions this month.
Yes, within like a 2 or 3 week period, which
Oh, cool.
is more than we normally do. We usually do once a month, but
Mhm.
it just feels so necessary. We may even be doing another one. I've been getting so many activations. North Korea. North Korea is going to be a big one as well. I've
Mhm.
been setting my eyes on that dictatorship. I had a beautiful divine sister who's from those lands, basically kind of brings some things to my attention, like how the people in North Korea, like they have no clue what's going on in the world. I mean, the people that live there are completely controlled by the Willy Wonka frequency fences. They don't have access to the internet the same way the rest of the world does. They don't know. I mean, the people there genuinely believe that their president is their God, because that's what's basically fed to them through the propaganda. And so just there's so much entrapment and enslavement in those lands that need to be restored and recovered. Also, Japan as well. Japan is recovering from so much nuclear devastation in their historical records. And so there's a lot of soul degradation in Japan. There's a lot of mutation, soul mutation. There's a lot of chimera energy in Japan. And I guess it would be like AI, like more AI hybrids and more soulless beings, because they've had such a huge rip and tear in their space-time continuum in the lands of Japan. And a lot of disincarnated spirits. So like very fractured souls are coming in that area. So yeah, there's so much grid work to be done. Oh my gosh, if we could just literally lay out these massive missions, just stack them up, because so much work to be done, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
So
it feels
much.
infinite. Yeah. I saw a question come up from Liz in the chat. She said, when I tune into that area, Gaza, it's so painful and heavy. Will grid working teach spiritual protection for the grid worker? I think that's a great question. It's a valid question. I do think it's important that we have our own practices that we do, that help us individually, but as a group in the container, it's always, I mean, Indy does a great job dropping us in, and we have prayer and different forms of protective measures, even if we're in the midst of it and something comes up and somebody notices something, and we need to take a new measure. So yes, I think, right, Indy, that's a pretty important part of grid working, is having tools and resources for protective measures.
Yeah, it's absolutely 100% a part of the protocol and I guess the methodology of gridwork facilitation. There are specific things such as unity vows, like the importance of bringing everyone into unity, being on the same page, being aligned with the same intent. Fear releases collapses. So making sure that we address fear prior to going into mission work, and then also during mission work. I mean, infiltration can surface through the grid work. So being able to verbalize and vocalize it if that happens during grid work and recenter yourself. And then just as Noko said, having your own personal things that you bring in as protection. And then also group things that we do just to set protection. So we set a lot of guardian shields, boundary shields, and we just, really call on the divine assistance. But I think the number one thing to know is that if you're doing this work, you're a warrior. You're basically willingly accessing the interdimensional battlefield. So that was one of the main focuses of the boot camp, was to help prepare people for inner resilience. How do you decorate your inner armor, your shields, your relics? I mean, you wouldn't go into a battlefield without anything on. You know what I mean? So you have to really fortify your own light body with things that represent and are meaningful to, your own personal protection sphere. And kind of, stepping into that actively and decorating the inner warrior that you are, knowing what your gifts are, knowing what your strengths and weaknesses are. Knowing your weaknesses for this work is imperative. One thing that we focused on so much for DC was shadow work. I mean, we couldn't express that enough because how powerful reversal gates are, and still we were infiltrated to a pretty good level.
Yeah. Purification too, right? We did a lot of detoxing and cleansing and making sure your vessel is, optimized. Helps.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Um, yeah, making sure your own moral and integral code is very strong. But even within that, emotional management and managing your emotions, there's so much that, goes into knowing if you're ready to do this work in the first place. And even if you're not, maybe you're somebody who just falls and fumbles through things and figures it out. But I can be one of those people a lot of times. I just like go in, like that's how I learned to swim. I just jumped in. So it can be like that for some people. And as you do more of the fear releases, you start to alchemize the things that maybe hold you back in terms of reservation and caution. But again, if you feel like you need to heed that caution at the same time, that's always necessary. It's really just about trusting what's coming to you and where you stand on a personal level. And it's different for everyone because their codes and their DNA are different, right? So some people are at the level that they can alchemize the fear programs and the matrices, and they can exist within a neutral and a harmonious template, even on the battlefield. Other people, there's so much still clearing that's going on genetically, intergenerationally, personally, emotionally, trauma to these things that they're not ready and they can't, because it is going to trigger things within their codes and DNA to come up to resurface for them to have to play out. And it might be a timeline they have to alchemize in the purgatory fields for some time. And then that's going to bring up, again, fear and that caution reservation when going into that work. So as you experience this again and again and again and gain more wisdom, you start to really understand where your limitations are, what you can and can't take on, what you're ready for and what you're not. And there's a lot to be said within just self-awareness. Self-awareness is key.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think also preparation, because if for me, I don't know how each of you are with the missions, but like I always come to the table with what I'm guided. So like that day before I get on, I'll be getting all of these downloads of, I mean, I've had interesting things where like put an air filter on, plug into the wall, put my oils on, or I'll have my sound healing tools, I'll have my crystals, I'll have my different pieces, different relics and things that I have physically that are also with me. And you can also even prepare the land ahead of time. Before I went to DC, I was
Yeah.
I have a scalar plasma projector. It works with scalar energy and also, which is like chi energy, and also the kind of Tesla technology with a Tesla coil on it. And I was working the grids. I had maps printed out. I had places that we were going, monuments and things that we were visiting in DC. I had this whole sacred space set up down in my spiritual room, with crystals and all the feathers and things that I was guided to put together. And then I just worked on them every day and just sent love into the grids and into these spaces every day, and prayed over them. And I'm getting chills as I share that. Like, this is how I know it sounds simple. You don't have to have a scalar plasma projector to do this. You can set up your own space to do this if you want to call it an altar or just a sacred space that you're, really prepping the area and the grids. So many things you can do to feel better and more secure and protected when you're going in. The key part is really tuning in and having confidence in your own gnosis and in your guidance that comes through. So.
So perfect. So beautiful. Yeah, that and garlic. We come back to garlic, eating it, wearing it. For me, it's the nutrition part, your body, right? Like the health of your light body is so contingent upon um the vibrational foods in which you put in. But yeah, garlic is like the one thing. It's such a spiritual immune system defender. I mean, it's literally a part of the defender grid. And I think that's ultimately what the Goddess Boot Camp served was. It was building the resilience for us to acknowledge the defender systems. I mean, these downloads I'm getting right now, Noko, are just insane with tapping into the resources of these defender templates. Like, to tune your consciousness simultaneously to 35,000 stone megalithic sites all in Europe simultaneously to activate the defender coding to take in with us into the Gaza Strip.
Mhm. Mm.
That's the type of protection. So if you want to talk about protection, these defender systems, this is what's available to us, is this ancient technology that was installed by the Druids and the Celtics. They left this here for us to remember our defender forces, the Vikings, fighting for good, righteousness, truth, benevolence, and the vortices of the land in which support this as well.
Mhm.
So we can call in all of these land codes as resources. What are our resources? This is what protection is about. What are our resources? Because there are all of these living spiritual networks on the planet that we can tune. I mean, when I'm doing this clearing work, let's talk about Stargate repair. When I'm doing womb Stargate repair, I'm clearing out the negative, but then immediately connecting that gate system into all of the organic resources in which are going to support it with light, are going to support it with all of the higher energetics and which are necessary to upgrade it. So we want to sustain all of that through our organic resources. We can use it through the river systems, the soul river lines, the organic crystal mountain tops, the organic inner earth crystal network inside the mantle. We can utilize the ocean, the powerful vortices of elemental sites in which all 5 elements are connecting. These are coastal regions. We've talked about the power of coastal regions. Volcano systems and spirits. Yeah, so much here, right?
Yeah.
And then what the humans have brought, which is are these ancient angelic humans have brought the ancient defender systems, the megalithic sites, the pyramid networks. We can tap into all of this as a resource to take with us as we break down and deconstruct the inorganic frequency fences in which are harvesting the Palestinians in a concentration camp.
Mhm. Yeah.
We carry that code in our body. Think about how powerful that is as we show up as a group to stand with such a powerful organic global system within us that the negative forces just, they ultimately can't uphold. They cannot. The chat's going crazy right now. People are like, yes.
Well, because you're on
uh,
point. I mean, creation gives us the tools. Everything's around us. Like I said, our ancestors' creation, like it's all here for us. And so we do have to just tap into it. I mean, how many times we've been in a mission and like a tree will connect in to us, right? Somebody gets like a message from a tree, and then all of a sudden we get a tree channeling in. It's like
mhm.
they all want to help. They're all part of our team. And so when you open yourself up to that, and that's why it's important that we get all the right people on the bus. That's why divinely everybody shows up with the right gifts and connections, because it brings in the recipe for that mission. It's like each of us have the ingredients, you know, it's so beautiful.
Oh, and speaking of trees, Noko, and everyone watching, I've been on this golden tree activation with Teen Hinan. She was one of the goddess who's ingested one of the golden leaves from the golden tree of life. And then the other day, I came into the awareness of golden forests that are running all through Canada, Sweden, Denmark, Norway. Like they're all these northern golden forest activations. So I think that's something I might want to call in when we do the clearing on Stonehenge, is to tap into the energy of the Golden Forest Network.
Sounds amazing. I can see little golden
Yes.
fairies flying around too. That's
Oh my
awesome.
gosh.
The elementals, you know, they always come in at some point too. So yeah, this is going to be, tomorrow's going to be so powerful, and it's just going to be a stepping stone into, you know, what we're doing for the Gridwork Facilitator 2 coursework and what's to come down the pipeline. We have so many good things planned.
So many good things. I'm so excited.
Me too.
Well, Noko, do you have any last messages for anyone today that's watching? April 1st. It's April 1st.
This is no April Fools. We're serious today. You know, it's like it's kind of playing a joke on the reversal, right? Because April Fools is like a reversal type energy. So
Oh,
the fact that
it
we're coming
is.
in with like a serious like mission, it's just laying down the law. But
Right.
I'm just inspired and motivated to tell people like listen to your voice, listen to that inner voice, listen to the calling. Um, you know, don't block yourself, don't let it be an excuse, right? Your purpose is much more important than any excuse you can come up with. And that's coming from somebody over
Yes.
here that I've had every excuse in the book. Oh, I don't have the money to do it. Oh, I'm not ready for that, or you know, whatever. And then digging deep down in, it's like if it's meant to be, right, it will happen. And I feel like you have to honor that side of yourself. Allow yourself to be seen, allow yourself to connect into this amazing network of grid workers that we're building, so that we can be, you know, it's a community and it's a movement, right? We said that when we first started doing the first course, it's like this is really taking, it's kind of like the seed that's really starting to take shape. So
Yeah, it really is.
everybody there.
It's so expansive on our seer abilities, our abilities to just unify. I mean, I think what's needed right now in the world is unification, right? We've been battling out all of these patriarchal religion factions of beliefs for so long. And so um yeah, it's coming together in unity and seeing the bigger picture. And so it's amazing. And thank you everyone for watching today. Thanks for joining me and Noko. We're just so happy you guys came in the live with us. And what were you sipping on? I know you had some tea.
Yeah, I have, it's an elderberry and echinacea, little immune booster, and I have some
Ooh,
oils. Yeah, I've been adding like oils, different extractions and things. I think one is like raspberry leaf. It's more like for the feminine aspect. Oh, and I forgot, I also had our Andromeda activator today that wanted to come and play. Speaking of trees and the lilac, right?
oh wow.
And
That's
then on
awesome.
my tea bag, I had this message. It says, the plants have enough spirit to transform our limited vision.
Oh, that's
Mhm.
beautiful.
So strong plant frequency coming in for our mission.
I'll tell you what, I've been planting the last week. I planted tomatoes, yeah,
Yay.
zucchinis and flowers, lots of flowers. I'm so
Beautiful.
excited. It's just when those flowers start to bloom, you just get so excited, like, oh my gosh, your green
Mm.
thumb. Yeah, okay, well, amazing. Thanks, Noko, so much. I love you, girl. And yeah, I hope everyone joins us tomorrow. It's going to
Yeah,
be a big grid worker mission day tomorrow. So
I think
I hope you
so.
guys show up. And we look forward to clearing the skate system. So it's going to be preparation mission work for Gridwork Facilitator 2.0, which we're hoping that you all join us for as well. And I hope you all have a beautiful everything, beautiful rest of your day. Namaste. We love you all so much and take care.
Love you. One love.